AI sound effects, and digital detox. This is MacVoices. MacVoices is supported by our Patreon subscribers. Get access to the MacVoices Slack, the MacVoices Discord, MacVoices After Dark, and have your name listed at the end of each episode of MacVoices. Sign up at patreon.com/MacVoices. This is another one that I want to know if you think this is important or not. And Marty, I'm going to turn back to you because you just said that you're using one of a service sort of like this. Adobe Firefly can now generate sound effects from your audio cues. So this is sound effects, but you just said that you're using music generation services. Good thing, bad thing?
I do have Adobe Firefly because I have an Adobe account that I use, and I use Adobe for video editing and also for audio editing. So that's why I have an Adobe account. Learned on it a long time ago, which is I've kind of stuck with that. But I haven't had an opportunity to try this out. And I don't know. What sound effects would we create for this show?
Intelligent conversation, perhaps. No, I don't. You know, the I don't believe it plays, but the image in the article is a rocket launching into space, and then there's a waveform showing, you know, a rocket launching into space. So, you know, that would be great if let's just say
a need for a rocket launching into space.
Well, let's say that I went to Florida and witnessed a rocket launch and had video that I would like to, since it's my video, I can use it, but the audio probably is going to lose the impact of it. And so if I could generate some audio to match it or get close to it, that would be a definite value add. So I just, everything is going to be AI generated, or at least you'll be able to at some point. And I don't know where the line is.
You know, I like bad pictures and I like bad sound. So because they feel like I'm capturing something real. And now I'm going to sound like Eric. And you know, from what I just said with the last comment, I'm going to sound like Eric. I'm okay with your video of the rocket taking off and it having subpar audio because that's what your experience was when you were there. It's the same way I feel about those HDR pictures that people are doing. So everything looks like it's glowing nowadays. It's not how we perceive it. And so I don't feel like I need to beef up the sound of a rocket taking off if that was the experience that I captured on my camera and essentially the experience I captured in my ear.
Okay.
Sorry.
No. I think it's an interesting perspective and it's a good one. I can't help but, you know, my mind immediately for some reason went to lip synced videos, a la MTV in the early days. You know, where there's no way that the sound is going to be, they're obviously performing for the camera. And so you're getting the high quality audio versus what it probably really sounded like in the room where they were doing it. So, you know, and we all ate that up and still do, because now, you know, if I'm going to see a music video, I want it to sound good.
Yeah.
So, and actually, we have a living, breathing example right here, because there's Eric using his Vision Pro. And so, you know, that's audio, or excuse me, that's video, but it looks like Eric. It looks like Eric. It's emoting like Eric. Does that make it any less useful? I don't know what Eric's doing with his hands.
But it's not Eric. Come on, guys. We know it's not
Put
Eric.
it over your mouth. Show everybody.
Oh, yeah. This is good. So get a can out, take a big drink. You
don't see it.
Yep. Totally invisible, except for the fuzzing around the mouth.
Yeah, that's real, Eric.
Yeah.
It's useful though. It's kind of like having the rocket launch with, X-wings in the background and the noise. Sometimes, it might not have really happened that way, but that's how I'm telling the story.
Okay. Marty, I know you got to run. You're welcome
Yep.
to stay as long as you want, but right quick, where can folks find you?
You can find me at Jencius, Jencius, at mastodon.social or Jencius, Jencius at Blue Sky. All the shows that I'm involved with, and I even mentioned this on the website, you can find at thepodtalk.net. Monday nights with Eric on Vision Profiles, and with Dave on Vision Profiles. He's a regular with us. And it's great to have that show. And then other shows you can find at thepodtalk.net. Tuesdays here with you, Chuck. Thank you for having me. And Thursdays with Dave on In Touch with iOS. So it's just good to be a part of this. I'm sorry I have to run off tonight. Something's come up that I've got to deal with. So
Nope.
Usually doesn't happen. Yeah.
Take care of it.
Don't worry about it. Go
Yeah.
deal with it. Hope everything is good.
Okay.
We'll see you next
Yeah.
time. Take care.
Marty.
Yeah.
Bye, Marty.
Bye-bye.
So we have just a couple more to get to that are just a little more fun. I don't know if this will generate discussion or not. I know I have some strong feelings about it, but this digital detox summer camp may be able to cure your kids' smartphone addiction. I'm sorry Marty had to go because I really would like to hear from the educators in the room. And so obviously he's gone, so that means it falls to Eric and Brian. I understand where the concern is, but this seems, to my way of thinking, this is one of those things where are you trying to recapture the quote unquote old days, or are you just refusing to teach kids how to use these tools responsibly? Or is this a real, honest to God, genuine problem?
It's a huge
Huh?
problem.
Okay. It's a real problem, Eric?
It's a massive problem. So,
Okay.
I mean, you've had a whole pile of kids that were isolated during the COVID years, missed out on all kinds of socialization, or totally involved in a little screen because that's all the communication they had. It was bad before COVID. It's 10 times worse afterwards. And trying to get anybody to be able to keep their eyes off a screen long enough to pay attention. And, all of the variability between, do you take away cell phones at the beginning of the hour? Does that cause extra anxiety or not? Do parents need to be able to reach people at every second of the day or not? And there are valid reasons for all of the different factors, but it does create a distraction, and it creates a way that students can fall into something that just takes them away from the rest of the day. Now, I have to say, I may have, spent most of my high school years reading a book during class, but I think the phones are even more addictive, and it's harder to pull yourself away from it. I'll let Brian speak about it because I just see the students after they get out of high school and have to try and interact with us in college.
Yeah, I was looking at this, and to echo what Eric was mentioning, there are certain, I too was as much of a book reader and magazine reader, comic reader in high school, and one could maybe say that's a similar type thing to pull that away, but there is such a deep addictive nature to so many of the ways at which people use their cell phones, and young people and everybody using their cell phones, and that aspect of getting those constant updates, that constant connectedness, and not necessarily in a healthy way. I was looking through this particular article and how it is mentioning this. I believe they called it a camp where they were just cold turkey taken away from their phones altogether for a period of time, and all the frustrations that came about with that. I don't necessarily feel qualified to answer if that's the best way to go cold turkey on that. But I think there's certainly, we see it in the K-12 system with, while there's certainly positives that can come out of responsible phone use and responsible apps and the connections. I know the being brought up by Eric earlier on during the pandemic and having that isolation. But the phone was also there to create connectedness as well during that time. So there's definitely some positives, but all too often, and even on its most maybe benign aspects of too much phone use, it's the fact that some students aren't getting enough sleep and then they're not productive the next day and missing out. The states have really taken a look at this, and I was just reading a different article the other day, and I'll try to post it here in the chat for the show notes. But it was noting that quite recently in Utah, they had just recently banned cell phone use in schools, or at least heavily restricted it. I know that's going on also in Arizona, and I believe 29 or 28 other states in the District of Columbia as well, where there's different levels of restrictions of phones in the school systems, and each of those systems has their own definitions of what that means as far as banned from stepping foot inside on the campus and leaving, or whether that's just during instructional time. But it certainly is certainly a concern. And on the other side of the coin, though, and I know I've mentioned this in the show before, I think there's also a lot of responsibility that needs to take place with regards to teaching young people how to appropriately use devices as well. And what that definition of appropriate use, I guess could vary from person to person, but where it begins to affect the relationships that you have with other people and aspects of I'm sure at one point or another all of us were teased and or bullied at one point or another, but to have that constant always on that never stops takes it to another level, and being able to spread those types of sometimes horrible messages to one another. It's not one to one, it's one to many, sometimes one to thousands, can be real tough.
So you both mentioned the pandemic and the implications of the fallout from that. Do you think you see in the wave of kids that's coming up after the pandemic, is the problem as pronounced, and which would lead you to believe that it is just going to be an ongoing thing, or is it trailing off a little bit with the kids that could or have been able to have the normal socialization, or the more normal socialization?
That's a great question. I know for my population of students that I work more closely with, it's more of the higher end of high school, and I'm seeing more of a trail off from that. But I think, and this is just, and I'm stepping a little bit out of my expertise zone on this, but it might be more of a developmental aspect of when the pandemic hit, they were already teenagers. And so they already had like a built-in system already of utilizing this technology in a different way. It'll be interesting to see in the next 5 years or so when we start to see some of those who were younger, your elementary age students, when they were in the midst of the pandemic, become high school age. So at least from my point of view.
And I think there's been some effort in how to reduce the use of phones without overly stressing the students. So things like, instead of turning in a phone at the office at the beginning of the day or whatever, or not being allowed to put it in the building anywhere, things where you walk into the classroom and there's a cubby near the door and your phone goes into the same spot every single day and you can see it from where you sit, so you know where it is. And as soon as the class is over, you can go and check and see, if your grandmother's sick or out of the hospital or whatever urgent thing. I think there's a lot of really urgent situations that kids are dealing with that having no contact is extra stressful. And I know that, growing up years and years and decades ago, there weren't cell phones. I mean, you got in a car and drove across town to go tell the person to, hang up their phone so you could call them. And it's a totally different experience with the cell phones. So it's kind of, there seems to be a mix of anxiety, anxiousness, both on the parents and on the kids, that hasn't really been dealt with yet. So kind of experimenting with different ways to pull the phone far enough away from the student that there is interaction in the classroom without being distracted, I think is good. I have no idea how they're going to do that in the years to come, and I haven't seen the really young kids yet. There's certainly a lot of parents that are trying to remove phones entirely, but on the other hand, there's you don't get a phone, but we'll slap a watch on your wrist, and now the watches are a lot more capable. So,
Yep.
The only thing I'd like to add to the conversation is something I see constantly in restaurants with toddlers. The toddlers have phones in front of them. They have them mounted on their strollers in front of them. And then the parents wonder why the kids are addicted to these phones. They put them on the table during the meal. Now, I say that without being a parent, because it clearly keeps the child entertained, keeps them quiet, and perhaps maybe behaving a little better than they might otherwise. So I completely understand the motivation. But if you're going to train your kids this way, and to have that constant input from a screen, then you're going to bear the consequences. And then maybe spend $2,000 for a week's camp to try to detox them. So Cindy just said, great points from both Eric and Brian. I witnessed it today at the art show. Yeah.
Mm.
So, there you go. There you go. It is something that, I think we need to think about it a little more. I tend to be more technology oriented, and so I tend to think it's more a matter of teaching the kids how to be responsible instead of trying to enforce it with rules that they're going to do their best to get around. That's just what you did, I did, we all did at that age or those ages.
Well, and remember the talk at MacStock where the presenter was walking around the room and we're behind people and up the aisles, and that sort of much more interactive teaching style? That helps too, because, if there's interaction and walking back and forth, not just in school, but it's a problem now in lecture halls and just presentations where you're trying to teach people how the new software is going to work, and trying to move around the room or have, more slides that change more frequently. The attention span has gone from minutes to seconds, and I don't think that's going to change for quite a while.
Well, that's happening to all of us, even as adults.
Yes.
Our attention spans are dropping radically. Think about the long form articles, and I think it was Marty that was discussing how old we all are. But think about the long form articles that used to be in Macworld or Mac User, and now, if you're beyond 4 paragraphs, if you're beyond 3, you're ready to move on. It's like, okay, well, I don't need 25 paragraphs. I'm not. I don't know. I don't know how to follow that up, except just to say it is what it is. So, I do want to do one more. David had to step away for a second. He's back, and I wanted to get his thoughts on this one. So, Dave, I'm putting you on the spot because I didn't warn you about this, but I'm sure you know it, about a Microsoft SharePoint hack.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't want to know what your company's done or anything, but how do you see this? Because I know you and I have had some discussions about SharePoint and storing data there, storing information there. It looks like this will not be a big issue for Mac users other than maybe disrupting access to some files. But is this as major a thing as this article and a number of others I've read have made it out to be?
I don't think this is major of an article. Major. I mean, I saw this. I didn't just read it in depth, but I don't think it's as a major of an issue because you really haven't heard much about it. I haven't heard much about it within with my company. But yeah, right, I'm not specifying what we do about it. But if it was, believe me, I would hear about it. I mean, it's something that you got to remember that the SharePoint and all of Microsoft's tools that are set up in a corporate world is through Azure. Azure is the big box that everything is contained. So uh, we wouldn't be using the tools if you couldn't couldn't protect us from outside access to the information. You know, in my case, we don't allow anything outside of our network to access SharePoint nor OneDrive either. So that in itself, I think a lot of companies are practicing that rule, and because of the fact that it's secure and they have other means of setting up how you can access it by sending a alternate way of sharing something through a SharePoint site by knowing that it's locked down and off of a network. So that's what you're going to see a lot of companies do. The fact of the matter is, yeah, it's pretty serious. I mean, Microsoft's going to jump on this if they haven't already, pretty quick on it. But yeah, I think many companies know that it can be an issue and do protect from it.
I brought this up not to do the usual Microsoft beating, but
No, that's right.
just that we talk a lot about security, and we have a lot of folks out there who
Mhm.
do work with Microsoft-oriented systems. I know Webb has said that his company does, and so whenever I see one of these things that is looks to be this dangerous, I want to make sure we just at least mention it from a Mac user's perspective. And so, other than just a disruption of services, this doesn't look like it's anything that could cause us problems, unless have confidential data stored on there, and then
Right.
you may want to look into it a little bit more. So,
I think these types of articles like to sensationalize a little bit. Honestly, I mean, when we go back last year with CrowdStrike, that was a big problem, and that's a system that is open and allows that. In this case, I think many companies have the control of the way data is accessed out inside and outside the network. So I think they like a little bit of a scare tactic for a little bit, in my opinion.
okay. Oh, I'll give Lamp the last word in the chat room. The Microsoft SharePoint hack is a big deal. I'm a senior security engineer. I work for a Fortune 50 company. This is not a good look for Microsoft.
I agree with that.
I agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah. Lamp, what is a good look for Microsoft? No, never mind. Forget that.
Don't get them going.
Sorry, I couldn't help it. Guys, we're at time. Thank you very much. We've covered a lot of ground here tonight, and I really appreciate the opinions and the diversity of thought on all of them. Let's go around the room, let folks know where they can find you, and then we'll get out of here. I'm going to start in the garden this time, and with Mr. Eric Bolden. Eric, thank you so much for showing up with the Vision Pro and giving us a look at, what it can be if we're going to use it on something like Zoom or Teams or whatever. Where can folks connect with you?
Well, and I have to say that if you're going in for like dental work or something where your whole face is going to swell up, the persona lets you, cover up the fact that half your face is swollen, or you've got a big Band-Aid from the chicken that scratched your face, or whatever it happens to be. So yeah, there's some
Wow.
benefits. Not saying I have any experience with the chicken.
No, not at all.
But the soup is really good. Unrelated to the chicken, I'm sure. So I can be found on Mastodon at eabolden at mas.to. Mondays with Vision Profiles with Marty and Dave. And Tuesdays here, of course, with everybody. And Thursdays with In Touch with iOS. So I get my Vision OS, Mac OS, iOS, iPad OS throughout the week. Highly recommended for everyone.
Yes.
And then you get hands-on experience with Apple, with TV OS on the weekends to watch whatever you want.
Yeah.
I see.
There you go.
I see.
Excellent.
I do feel obligated to point out, though, that Eric is using his persona now, but when he cut it away to his regular camera, he still had most of his face covered with the Vision Pro. So I suspect there may be some truth to the chicken scratch thing.
We may never know.
Well, Bixby, thanks so much for being here. You and your quilts. Well, the Quilt Queen's quilts. Where can folks find you?
Yeah, trust me, I had nothing to do with this, but listen to the swearing. So, anyway, you can find me. I'm still sticking with Blue Sky because I just like the name. So, Web Bixby, WEBBIXBY. Go over there and find me.
Thanks.
Web. Oh, and NFL camp's open today.
Oh, okay. All right. Brian Flanigan-Arthurs, thank you for being here. Where can folks connect with you?
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure. Best place to connect with me is my website, brian8944.com. Also, if you like to check out a new podcast episode coming out this Thursday of On the Desk of Brian. And then in addition to that, you can find me most often here on Tuesday evenings. Appreciate it. Thanks again for having me.
Thank you, Brian. It's always a pleasure. Last but not least, in an undisclosed location in a hotel somewhere, David Ginsburg. David, I'm not going to tell him where it is.
I already said at the beginning.
Oh, did you? Okay, I didn't remember. So I didn't want to spoil the fun. Where can folks find you other than in the hotel room?
Yes. You could find me at InTouchWithIOS and InTouchWithIOS.com. The YouTube channel is youtube.com/InTouchWithIOS. And I'm on Vision Profiles on Monday nights with Eric and Marty. I have an absolute blast on that show. Thursday nights we record In Touch with iOS, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, and I'm occasionally on the Mac Show on the British Tech Network, as well as you can find me on social media, Dave G65 on both Mastodon and Blue Sky. Thanks for having me, Chuck.
Thank you, David. Folks, I'm Chuck Joyner. This is Mac Voices Live, Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, whatever time that is, wherever you are, on YouTube at youtube.com/MacVoicesTV. If you can't make it at our actual live times, these shows eventually show up in the Mac Voices feeds, lightly edited, but the content is always there for you to enjoy and be informed by. Until next week, as always, thanks for watching. Visit MacVoices.com for show notes and to connect with Chuck on social media. Get involved in our Facebook group or like our Facebook page, and get more out of your Apple tech with Mac Voices Magazine, free on Flipboard and on the web. And if you find value in it all, consider supporting us through either our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/MacVoices, or by making a one-time donation via the PayPal link on our front page and in the show notes of each episode. You will join these fine people who help bring you Mac Voices. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media at backbeatmedia.com. Bandwidth provided by CashFly at cashfly.com.